fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, ora pro nobis, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae.
Hello, everyone. Happy Mother's Day. That was Ruth Cunningham with a video that she sent from Jerusalem, where she was visiting the tomb of Mary, Mother Mary. So that was coming directly from one of the most ancient sites associated with Christianity. Many of the legends around Mary, of course, as you all know, place her in Ephesus, in what is now modern Turkey, where she went after the passing of Jesus. You can also, in Ephesus, see the little house, stone house, that Mary is purported to have stayed in, and from which she ascended directly into heaven. And so I really want to thank Ruth for taking the time and the consideration to give us that video on this very precious day when we celebrate mothers all over the world who give us all life and our well-being. As it turned out, my own mother, age 95, died on this day 9 years ago in 2014. So May 14th is always a very precious day for me personally. I had an extraordinary relationship with my mother, and I was very privileged to be holding her hand 9 years ago today when she passed very peacefully and with serenity, surrounded by her family. So happy Mother's Day. This year, we've been very blessed to have two of our Chartres community calls, one on Easter Sunday, and now this one on Mother's Day. Every year for 17 years, we just do the second Sunday of every month. And most years they just fall on regular Sundays. But this year we've been graced to have both Easter Sunday and Mother's Day as times for our community calls. So I just want to welcome everybody in the spirit of the Great Mother. And as you all know, we go to Chartres every year because that is a site par excellence of the generative power of the mother, giving perpetual birth. And in and around the cathedral, the stained glass and the stone sculptures, there's over 400 different depictions of the mother and child in that cathedral. So welcome everybody to Mother's Day. I want to now turn it over to Lynn Bell, our astrologer, who will give us an update on what's happening in the heavens. So Lynn, welcome from Paris.
Hi,
Tell us what's going on.
Great. I was having a little trouble logging in, which is par for the course, since this particular Mercury retrograde, which ends tomorrow, has for me just been like being swallowed by the serpent. And one of the things that perhaps all of us, as Mercury pops out, changes direction. I usually really enjoy Mercury retrograde for many reasons, because it allows you to go inward and think and revise a great deal of things. And perhaps because it's very much connected to the lunar nodes, there's been this feeling of things disappearing all the time, certainly for me. But really the big event this week, so many things change. The most important is that on the 16th, and again, depending on where you are, if you're in Australia, it might be the 15th. On the 16th, Jupiter enters Taurus. And Jupiter changes signs every 12 years, as many of you will know. And because Jupiter has to do with where growth is coming from, Jupiter going into Taurus, the ultimate earth sign, the sign is going into the creative power of the earth. And there is something, we've had Jupiter in Aries, which is kind of rushing, like we all, when we got released from the pandemic, we all wanted to rush free and catch up, but it didn't, it was a little confusing. And now we're going into a sign where things are sustained and solid and very deeply felt, deeply embodied, deeply rooted. And Taurus, of all the signs, is about the power of the earth. And Jupiter is our sense of connection with life and with the earth. And there are so many reasons that we can all rejoice in this. So one of the, actually today, the moon is in, as Jupiter enters Earth, the day after, the moon will join it in Taurus, and Mercury will be there as well. So there's a moment to take consciousness of the world around us and how we are how we are in our bodies, how we are on the planet, how we are with other living beings. Now, a couple of days after Jupiter enters Taurus, it actually, well, 2 days later, it squares Pluto. And this is a very high power, some kind of it's a high power encounter between two planets. Pluto has great power for destruction and creation. So it ups where Jupiter and Taurus we can think of as being wonderful for the life force. Square Pluto may also come with something that actually is overwhelming or unsettling. So we're all going to be aware of a very powerful shift in the celestial energies, in our biological energies, and in the way the earth is functioning. There could be Jupiter and Pluto are actually already square, and they will be square for about 10 days. The exact square is on the 18th. So it's not necessarily the exact date, but if you're thinking of what can be transformed in your life, of what can, how what really matters to you, how the way you conceptualize what's essential about being a human being at this moment and what it means to be in the body, how these two things come together is there's a very important crossroads coming. Some of this could be about the fundamental realms of powers, we're reading a lot right now about artificial intelligence, and how about that there are dangers, that people who have been involved in the invention of artificial intelligence are saying, hey, we need to put some rules in place here because there's a 50% chance that this could go really badly. And so it might be that there's a dialogue suddenly being created in a very powerful way between these different modes of being, the embodied and the encoded. And at the same time, on the 18th, there'll be 5 planets in Taurus, the 18th and 19th, 5 planets in this sign that goes very much to the core of our biological being. As Jupiter goes through Taurus, it will first make a harmonious aspect to Saturn. And this is over the next couple of months. So by the time you get to Chartres, Jupiter and Saturn will have come together. And this is a great great opening up of any seeds that have been planted, anything you've laid a foundation for. You can start to really see a support behind you. So those things are incredibly important. And there is a full moon on June 4th. And this again will be very aware of the various splits in our natures and what we want, who we speak to, what we would believe, who we agree with. There's that will be heightened again at this time. But the most important time is the coming week. And I'm glad you're all here on this call to come together and begin to touch into that. So thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Lynn, as always. It's always good to get our calendars organized around that. I've been writing down on the 16th and the 18th just to make sure we're all keeping up with ourselves here.
Yeah, well, and I think in the dream world, I think in terms of what we're starting to receive, in terms of what our senses are capturing, in terms of what's coming in inside us, it's a very important time. People will be noticing a shift this week.
Fantastic, fantastic. So thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to make a note about the Chartres coming up. Just to encourage people, I'll put the link in the chat in a moment, that we are going to be meeting on the 2nd of July through the 8th of July. And then a smaller group of us will be going down to the Dordogne, to the caves, the Neolithic caves with Apila. And so I want to just encourage all of you who may be still considering coming to please do so. We're going to have a very, very strong group this year, almost as large as last year. And we're going to be really seeking during our time there to sing one note. Just to imagine and hold those of you who are coming and those of you who are thinking of coming. Just imagine if we could, for 7 days that we're there, that 7-day initiatory ritual and ceremony, if for 7 days we could hold complete harmony and conscious intention of wholeness, we would have an extraordinary time together, because the whole purpose of Musica this year, with Chloe Goodchild and the other musicians and the choreography of the ritual and the ceremonies, is to see if we can not only find our own note personally, but whether we can find our collective note, so that from our opening ceremony through the crypt, the labyrinth, our celebration on the Friday night, and our departures the next Saturday on the 8th, we feel one note with and through each other. That is our goal for Chartres this year. So I want to thank everybody who's coming. I think we're going to have an extraordinarily powerful time. And one of the aspects that we're going to consider one of our evenings is we're going to delve into Merlin and the Druids and the Celts in a particularly mystical way. And to introduce our speaker and to say something more in her own right about what we're going to be doing in Chartres, I want to welcome Banafsheh, who was the one who got the video from Ruth. Ruth Banafsheh, is Ruth in Jerusalem now?
No, hello everyone. Blessed Mother's Day to you, and to all mothers and all lovers of the mother. Ruth, that video is from 3 months ago. So,
Oh, I
yes,
didn't know. It was a surprise. Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
very beautiful. So, as Jim said, our speaker today, one of our speakers today, is going to be Colette Corcoran. Colette is the founder of the Sacred Rose Mystery School. She is a druidess in training. And the first time Colette joined our community in Chartres was in 2017. And it's so perfect, Colette, that we get to hear from you today about your work, and also what you will be presenting in Chartres, the experiential events that you're designing. And it's so perfect to have you on Mother's Day. You are such an amazing mother. All of us who know your son Casper can attest to that. You are an amazing mother. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful energy and for mothering such a beautiful man.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you, and happy Mother's Day to you all. So you all know me as Casper's mother, but of course, beyond being Casper's mother, I have had a deep spiritual journey from being about the age of 19 and swept Casper under my wing on this magical, mysterious, journey of life that led me quite synchronistically to Chartres. And I don't think there's any mistake that any of us end up at this really sacred place. And for me, in 2017, with a 10-year-old boy under my wing, one of the first children to come to Chartres and experience the magic there were all the indicators from the mystical realms and the magical realms that this place and this particular pilgrimage was going to really change the course of my life and also Casper's life. And so in my previous experiences, I was a school teacher. I have been teaching the feminine mysteries since I was 20 years of age through yoga, somatic therapy, herbalism, particularly with a real interest in Christian mysticism because of my upbringing, my ancestry, and in womb shamanism. And it was womb shamanism and the journey of womb shamanism that collided with Casper's homeschooling and the Mathematica that was happening at Chartres that landed me from the depths of the jungle in Borneo to the steps of Chartres Cathedral within 3 days. This was decided all in 3 days. And for me, I am a student of Jung as well as being a student of Druidry. I am in my bardic year of my Druidry training. And this year entails much love and collaboration with myth and story tale and with the ancestors. And so it all collides with being into this beautiful year of Musica, because this is part of my bardic training, is to be in rhythm with myth and music and the love of storytelling. So I just wanted to share on this call the experiences of the phenomena I've had from being on this pilgrimage. I don't think any of us can really comprehend the deep, profound, ongoing things that happen from attending this pilgrimage. For me, it began with me in the dreamscape and in my dreams, and the synchronicities that led me on the pilgrimage and that helped me understand the collisions with the people I met there. And I believe that, many of the people I met on this pilgrimage were past family. And so with the help of a healer in the dream school, many of the dreams came to fruition that I had dreamt I'd been in the cathedral before I actually attended the cathedral. And it was with Jane 108 on the Mathematica, the sacred geometry, that I had a very profound experience. And I said to Jane that I can see shapes in people's body. There was just something happening in that cathedral where there was this deep resonance of the Platonic shapes within humans' body that I was seeing quite viscerally. And Jane explained, I tried to explain to Jane the kind of shapes I could see. And what was happening was I felt like the whole cathedral was like this pipe organ, the beautiful pipe organ that's in the cathedral. And this pipe organ was kind of playing in the shape of the cathedral, all the windows, all the amazing mathematics that the cathedral is built on, was kind of having this resonance with people's body. And at that time, I was teaching a style of somatic therapy that I'd created called chakra evolution. And it was a journey through the chakras in the body through yoga and somatic experiencing. And I could visually see these shapes occurring through the body. And I said to Jane, this is a kind of music that's happening. This cathedral is doing something to these people and to me. And we became, all I can describe was the perfect symphony of maths, sacred geometry, and particularly music. And so getting to actually come to Chartres this year and speak on this Musica theme with my love of druidry and how we as druids do resonate with the music of the spheres. We know that every living thing has a perfect harmonic, that our own interior harmonics work with the harmonics of the spirit of place. So when we turn up to the cathedral, when we turn up to the room in the lecture theatre, that our harmonics are beginning to already resonate with one another, that we're playing a song with each other, that we are remembering certain music within each other. And of course, a new music is beginning to be created by our meeting. So there was many occurrences after I left Chartres that began to play out from walking the labyrinth. We get private experience to walk the labyrinth that begins to continue to play in our body after we pilgrimage. And so I wanted to really investigate this. I do Jungian individuation work. I'm in my certification year of Jungian analysis. And I wanted to know what the harmonies that were happening within my body and why they were happening and why I was having such a remembrance of being in Chartres. So I think it was last year with a peeler, I dreamt while we were there about the ritual set that a peeler talked about of the Gauls. And so I went into my own ancestry, and my ancestry is French Gaul, it's Celt, Irish, and Scottish, and my ancestors were Druids. And I know that the Carnutes, who were the people of Chartres, the original people of Chartres, they had one of the biggest Druid assemblies. So they held Druid priests from all over the world who came to Chartres. And Chartres at the time was deep forestry. And you know, the word druid comes from tree and wisdom. And the huge oak trees and the sycamores and the plane trees that flooded the hill of Chartres that we know now. But there was one particular place, and that was a tumulus mound that one of the Druid priests recognized to have a particular resonance. Now, as a Druid, we work with spirits of place. We're always aware that a place has a spirit, and we're aware that within a place, there are different energies at play. And this tumulus mound that the priest found had such a crazily sacred resonance that came out that could only be described as that of a perpetual birthing, a feminine and perpetual birth. And what we as Druids call the Noethra. And the Noethra is a life force. And the Noethra has a sound that collides with another sacred sound that we call the Awen. And the Awen is the goddess. The Awen is God is creation. It's part of us as humans that comes and manifests through, you know, when we're in devotion or prayer. But the Noethra happens to us as humans, not through prayer, it's just our life force. And so these two collided at this point, and this sacred sound came out of the Awen. Now, they knew that this was a ritual site. They knew that this site was to perform ceremony and ritual on. And so the priest that was said to have discovered this beautiful resonance also began to do work within the realms and was told by an angelic being that there would be a woman who would conceive a child. And this child would come through an immaculate conception, and this child would change humanity as we knew it. And so the Druids at the time began to carve these statues, and these statues were representative of a mother and a child. And so the Druids predicted that this site would be a site of celebration of mother and child, of the Awen, of the goddess of life form. And they knew that something would change there, that ceremony and ritual would always be in this space. And so they began to go underground and work within the deep caverns that are under the tumulus mound that we know as Chartres Hill today. So I want to bring to the pilgrimage an experience of a Druid ceremony. I want to engage the audience there into what it would have been like to hold Druid ceremony on this sacred site with the sacred sound of Awen resonating through our bodies. So I am beyond excited and beyond honor to come to Chartres this year to be able to deliver that to everybody that comes and wants to really experience what the Druid ceremony would be like upon that hill, and how we can understand the music that runs through us, that resonates with the spirit of place, the spirit of tribe, the spirit of ancestors, and all spirits that we call into a ceremony. And I don't want to give away too much because I want this to be an experience within the pilgrimage. And another area that I wish to touch on, because we cannot talk about Druidism without speaking about Merlin, and that is to bring a beautiful storytelling in action play about Merlin's magic and about King Arthur, and how those two souls collide and how they represent the internal wise men within us and the eternal child within us all as well. So that will be part of the experience of this pilgrimage. And I really, really hope that the energy of the Druids, you know, along with Apila's really deep connection to her own Gaul heritage, you know, she's brought this in, she's brought the ritual package through into the atmosphere and the energy of the essence of Chartres. And I think this is maybe what I'm then called in to bring in my part as a Druid priestess, and to come and bring that energy into the Chartres. So I'm really, really looking forward to that, with particular ownership on keeping stum about what I'm going to do with the magic of Merlin, and how I'm going to bring Merlin's connection to the music of space into this this retreat in 2023. Very excited.
Thank you so much, Colette. Wow. Everything you shared was so deep and interesting. And I love the way you presented all of that. Such an embodied way. Can't wait for your presentation. It's going to be magical. So next, everyone will hear from Kaylin Rain, and then we'll have a discussion. Kaylin is a geomancer. He's a reverend, and he has been working with Ubiquity University for 17 years. Yes, Kaylin? And
18 at this point.
18, pardon me. And Kaylin's always present at the Chartres Academy gatherings. He's an integral part of our gathering. He makes sure that everything is harmonious, that the energies commingle together in a harmonious way. So, Kaylin, let us hear from you. Thank you for being here.
Hello. One claim to fame is the first year Casper came, we were having a discussion of wizards and Merlin, and Casper had the large horn-rimmed glasses. So I put a figure on one of the pillars in the Chartres Cathedral of Casper with his horn-rimmed glasses on and a wizard hat, and then asked him to go in and find himself on the pillar. And Colette said he walked straight into the cathedral and walked right to the pillar and looked at himself like looking in a mirror. So the original story of Merlin, I think, came from around the 12th century, which is back during the time of the Chartres Cathedral being built. And likely parts of the legend are true, but most likely more of it's mythology. And he's moved into Italian writings and French writings and Spanish writings and different English people. And he sort of gets updated as the time goes along. And now we have all kinds of technology devices and everything named Merlin. And I think overall, it's sort of the Merlin archetype. It's what it's become to me. And Merlin is just someone associated with someone that has magic powers of divination, or just does something that may be out of the ordinary that other people don't understand, which is some of my work as a geomancer does that, or you're teaching people how to connect with trees and stones and the landscape. When I'm doing the labyrinths around the world, the idea is always to put some kind of energy field on them so that when people step in, they step into an alternate universe, and they can step into the archetype of energy that allows them to be whoever they want to be and get the answers that they want to whatever questions they have. And so I think energetics are very important, and it's all based on music. So the presentation I'll be giving, I'll be doing a PowerPoint explaining how to set up the labyrinth so that when you're walking it, you arrive in the center to your original voice by having everything drop away that prevents you from embracing it. So I know we're going to be doing all through the week, we'll be working on finding your original voice. So my intention is to set up a labyrinth field so that people will be able to, it'll facilitate people finding their original voice in the labyrinth, and also to set up an energy field in the lower church, which is sometimes called the crypt, that will enable people to engage with the mound, because there are 5 wells beneath the cathedral, and when you are in the lower church, looking at the Black Madonna in the lower church, you're sort of in the original mound, which is why some people call it the lower church, because you were in what would be a Druid church. And I think it's a very powerful, it's at least as powerful as the labyrinth, because you're actually in the ground. Whenever I'm currently in the basement in a house in Maine. Before this, I was in the basement in a house in Nashville, North Carolina. And wherever we move, I'm always in the basement, so I'm in the earth, where my sacred room is. Might be some people on the call that have seen the sacred room where the 700 ritual objects are, but it enables me to send altars and energy out through the energy lines of the earth, because I'm literally in the earth. Even though I can look out and see that, look out the windows here on either side of me, I still am in the earth, and I can feel the ground around me. And I think that's very important. So I find a visit to the lower church at Chartres extremely important, and we do that early in the week so that people are able to be in the ground and feel those earth energies, and then those translate to the upper church. I was fortunate to study with Dominic Suzani in Druid geomancy, and he's in a lineage of the people that built the cathedral. So he and I had several discussions on the energetics of the cathedral and Druid geomancy, and there are mathematical and musical aspects to the way the cathedral was constructed, so that it became basically a symphony of stone. And that's what I hope everyone experiences with the music that we have and with the time in the cathedral, is that you're able to engage with the cathedral as a musical instrument. And the stained glass has its own particular melodies. Each one has the particular melodies. The colors all have different melodies. The stones are arranged in a certain way that when you pass them, even the air moving across the stones sings to you, sort of like walking into a museum gallery, except this is a gallery of stone and glass. And I find it very comforting and soothing every year to go back to the cathedral and enter that space and be embraced by the stone and the glass and the stained glass, and to know that everything is right with the world. And then I think next year, following the Chartres class next year, Colette and I will be leading a group to on a Merlin pilgrimage to southern France. And people will learn how to open trees and stones and have conversations with nature, and learn a little bit about the magic of the Druids. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylin. If you, Kaylin and Colette, would like to come back on Banafshe, we can have a conversation with everyone. Thank you both so much. I mean, you've really activated the magic and mystery of Chartres, because it's really Druidic and Merlin-esque in its very nature and essence. And I thought I would just be interested, Colette, for you to say a little bit more about your Druidic training. Is there a particular lineage, or is there a school? If you're in a bardic level, is there 7 levels? Tell us a little bit more about your Druidic training, because I know.
So
Caesar said that I was just going to say that in his commentaries, Caesar said that the Druids took 20 years to train.
Yeah, there are different ways of initiation. So it's very, very different for everybody. So for me, there's been a lot of Druid work beforehand, and I have a mentor and I have a school. I'm with the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So I'm with a school, and the mentor kind of works with you to see where you're at on your journey and what you've experienced. And I think my journey started when I landed in Chartres. Ancestrally, the ancestors called me back and they said, come here, remember. And my dream showed me that. That's why I had to start the Jungian work as well, to understand what the dreams were trying to show me, what the archetypes were playing out in me, and where I was being called to work with. So Yeah, I work with the school, and we go through a series of initiations. There's learnings, there's storytellings we have to do within the community. We have to create a physical sacred grove. So the land here in France, we have made a sacred grove. We have a designated space that we do all our Druid ceremonies in. There has to be community work. We have to help community. We gift eggs and the food that we grow on the land. We invite people in to help us here. So we have to create a Druid community in whichever way that suits us. And the magic is the sacred grove always shows itself in some way, shape, or format. And so we had different ideas for the land that we came to in France. We were going to open a retreat centre, and it was going to be very self-serving. But in the initiations, the land and the spirit of the land and the ancestors were like, no, this is what we're going to do with this land. And you're going to serve community. You're going to serve the people. You're going to serve the trees and the messengers of your spirits and your ancestors that are going to come and give you certain messages. So I'd operated as a medium. I'd done clairvoyancy before. And it became obvious that that clairvoyancy was going to change, and there's certain initiations we do on the other side in the realms beyond the scene. And so I communicate with ancestral guides who say, you need to do this, and it's never ever about the self. It's always about, you need to help people more. You need to connect to more community. You need to get people to connect to the land more. You need to get your hands dirty more. You need to chop wood. You need to carry water. So the initiations come through the Bardic school, but the initiations also come through the realms. And so this is a constant mentoring with your mentor and with your school, that what are the ancestors telling you? What are the trees trying to tell you? What synchronistic things are happening in your life that are showing you that you can't do that, or you've got to steer another way? And then there are certain things we have to fulfill. So this journey could take 20 years. It could take 7. It could take 3. We don't know how long it takes, and we don't know when we're ready to progress to the next level. So the Bardic year that I'm in currently has been a conglomeration of everything I've done in my life in education, my master's degree in creative writing, my love of storytelling, my love of myth, my love of Jung. And it's all kind of rolled into one ball. And it said, you're going to stay here with the Bard because you need to tell more stories. You need to speak to audiences. You need to bring your transmissions from the sacred grove through. And lo and behold, you asked me to present that. My teacher said, you will be asked to present to a large audience through your Bard, through your storytelling, through your transmissions, Colette. Be patient.
No
and you
kidding.
Asked you. And Banafshe asked, yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That is extraordinary to know that one's actions are right on time in accordance with the deeper invisible realms that you didn't consciously know anything about. It's quite a humbling experience.
And the whole experience is humble. I'm such a control freak where I like to know when, my study's starting and what texts I have to read. And I love that organization. And that has had to all just be dumped with the Druid work, because there is no time scale for me to pass through the grades. It's all up to the ancestors and to the spirit and to land. And I have to just surrender to that and trust the process, that the ovate year will come when it comes. And I could be stuck as a bard for the rest of my life. We don't know. We don't know. We have to just go with the initiations and what the magic brings to us.
Thank you so much. Kaylin, what would be your comment on this notion? Because you've been in a particular lineage, with the Himalayan tradition, and know a lot about lineage and the training in these matters. What would be your comment? Because I know, Colette, you've got the Sacred Rose Mystery School. So you'll be developing these kinds of hierarchies of learning, I imagine,
Yes.
over time. With Kaylin.
Yeah, I'm going to go down and try to put down a labyrinth and a raven circle down at her place in southern France after Chartres. My lineage is what's known as the nameless religion of the Himalayas, which you can just type into any browser, just type in nameless religion, and some people call it pre-literate Bon, but it was believed to be the first religion on the planet. It's called Patterns of Heaven and Earth and Sacred Conventions, and it's learning about all of the patterns of heaven and earth, and the sacred conventions would be the Merlin equation, part of the equation, which is the ways of doing things to manipulate the energy fields of the earth and the patterns. And my understanding as it's laid out is that the people that left the nameless religion then went around the world and they became the Druids and the Celts and the Native Americans and the Maya and all the different traditions around the world. And this is how why labyrinths appeared simultaneously on like 3 different continents. And everybody was trying to figure out how are these things getting to different places without the internet. And it was all done with the morphogenic fields and moving through the energy lines of the earth. And because the people had left the Himalayas and had gone to all of these other places, they were there to receive the messages. And it just became part of the just the way of life all over the planet, and the energetic understanding of the planet. I usually have a painting behind me, but behind me, if you can see the women, this was a lineage in Western Nepal. There was one of the lineages had a woman healer, and she passed it down to her daughters when she passed away, and they would do one of these little dolls after she passed away, like a little effigy. And this was a series of 10 of these women, and then something happened where there wasn't a female to carry on the tradition. So that particular little lineage became whole and didn't continue that body of learning. But the body of learning is in the effigies because it was passed on sort of like the Dalai Lama, finds the ritual object from the previous Dalai Lama and moves on. It's the same thing here. And the information now is embedded in these 10 little dolls that I got as part of my part of the 700 objects I have. And all of the ones from Nepal, they come because the people in North Carolina that have been doing this for 3 generations have people that go into the mountains when certain people pass away, and they know there are ritual objects available, and they always ask, is everything accounted for? Does everything have someone to go to? And is there anything left over? And at that point it was, that would go to the healer in North Carolina. And now it's the healer in Maine. So from time to time I would get a phone call to go to the store, and a box would arrive. And one of the boxes that arrived had these 10 women in it, because this was sort of an enclosed lineage.
Amazing.
That all of the information is in these 10 women. And I now have that in my database in my sacred room with the other 700 objects, and can draw on that when I'm doing the Merlin-y stuff that I do. It's just like reading a book, and you can tap into them. You use sound and music, and you activate them, and then they just start singing their stories. Like Colette says, they all have their stories, and you have 10 generations of knowledge here of people that were doing healing to transfer. So I thought it would be appropriate to have the 10 women today.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing the 10 women with us. That's so amazing.
And I'd really like to get people to experience what Kaylin's talking about through something we're going to bring for the whole storytelling bardic performance. People will get to experience how certain things are captured in memory in earth and in stone. So there'll be a little experiment with everybody to be able to really connect to what Kaylin's just spoke about. So it's going to be magic.
So enjoyed your explanation, Colette, and how amazing that right when you were ready to present your stories, we asked you, We were guided to ask you. So cool.
Yeah.
And then, but what both of you are saying reminds me of how each and every one of us who come to Chartres, it's not an accident. We're all led there. We're all led there, and we all embody part of the puzzle, or part of the understanding of the mystery there, and that includes everybody, everybody. Because I've heard stories from so many people, exquisite, unique experiences this to this glorious site that has been a site people have visited for thousands of years. So amazing.
So
And
just to
can I
wrap,
just add as well, sorry, just the
Go ahead.
druidic nature of understanding of Chartres is a place we can all go to, where the veils completely begin to drop for us, and the ancestors and all the music of our life path and what we should be doing comes through the body. So, you know, I had this explained to me in a dream and through my mentoring, that something happened to me there that changed the course of my life to be in tune and aligned with what I should be doing. So I just want to open that field for everybody who sat on the borderline of whether they should come or not. Just like come and get aligned and tuned, because it really does do that.
Yeah, I can second that. That happened to me as well. Yes.
I'll third that. That's how we ended up in Chartres, my experience at the Mother Tree. So what you're saying is so true, Colette. There's something about Chartres that just captures one in a very deeply existential way. And that's how pilgrimage started. And that's why we're all going there year after year as a matter of spiritual practice. So thank you for everything that you're doing. And just to summarize, there will be one evening with Colette and Kaylin when we gather in Chartres this year. And then after our Chartres Liberal Art of Arithmetical next year in 2024, we're going to go down to areas in France associated with the Druids, of course, and then Maryland and that whole body of work. So we have something to look forward to as we prepare for Chartres this year. So thank you so much, Colette, for everything that you're doing, and Kaylin, as ever, after 18 years. And so Banafsheh, any closing comments? And then why don't you give us a benediction? And then you're all welcome to the after session chat group. You'll see the link that has been put in the chat box. Margot Borden will be moderating. So for those of you who are interested and want to learn more from Colette or Kaylin about these matters and talk about Mother's Day in any way that you would like, you're all welcome. Banafsheh. Banafsheh. Oh, maybe we lost Banafsheh. So I'll just offer the blessings of the Mother on this sacred day where we bless all mothers. And I offer the blessings of the Druids and the magic of Chartres that emanates so powerfully from that sacred place. And I offer the blessings of our planetary alignments as Jupiter goes into Taurus and the different planets begin to coalesce in the house of the Earth this next week, that we'll all find our grounding in a deeper way. And we'll all feel the richness of Jupiter and the exuberance of Jupiter in the sky as it affects our little lives here on this precious little planet. So in the name of the Mother, bless us all. Thanks, everyone. You're all welcome to the after session chat group, and we'll see you then next month. We have one more community call before we physically gather in Chartres. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.